So I want to preface all of this with just a little piece about me. Sorry. So um, starting with like a little snippet about who I am. I always avoid. Like I am like the queen of avoidance, like loyalty, avoidance, me, war team, right? So, I avoid everything at all costs. I avoid a conflict. I avoid, upsetting people. I avoid upsetting myself. I avoid, anything that might be a little bit chaotic, but then in turn, I become very chaotic. Like I am working overtime trying to make sure that things don't get chaotic. But the thing about that, and I think that, and like I said, it's like this loop. It's like by trying not to be chaotic, I am causing more chaos. And so that's why that's kind of what I wanted to talk about with getting messy, getting our hands dirty, by just going all into all of our flaws and messing up, and to the point where we are intentionally messing up. I think that that can really help us to embrace who we are and our flaws by intentionally trying to be flawed. By intentionally trying to be flawed, um, we are able to really, with intentionality, understand our flaws better and understand where we are causing more flaws within our own, like internally, but also like within our communities, within our circles. Like it's almost as if, like, if you take the example of like you're avoiding like trying to be mean, but then all you can think about, or not mean, maybe that's not a good example, sorry, but like in this example that I'm doing right now, like with this podcast, like I keep messing up and I like notice where I'm messing up. But I think in intentionally allowing myself to mess up and allowing myself to be flawed and exist in the flaw, it flows more naturally than all these like edits and trying to look perfect and like that makes it more messy in itself. Like people don't like, as much as we live in a society where everyone seems to be inauthentic, if we were to really step back and examine what we like about people or about our friends or our family members or partners or whatever, we would notice that we like it most when they're themselves, when they're authentic to who they are, and we like people when they show up as themselves, and then we can really examine if we like that person that they truly are, rather than like when we try to show up in ways where we're not really embracing who we are. And then people think you're like fake, and then it's like this whole thing of like nobody really um like enjoys being around that fake person. But if we were to really examine, we would notice that we're all being fake because we're always trying not to be fake, for example. Um, and also as an example, like, for instance, like me trying to show up in a like perfect way and have like meticulous like wording and always trying to say the right thing and do the right thing. By doing that, I don't sit in the present moment, and then I'm stumbling over words because I'm so caught up in what am I saying. So then I like stumble over words because I'm like so like I'm over analyzing these words and wrapping my head around all the things that I'm doing wrong, and then that then manifests the the wrong, and it's like amplified. And I think that So just going back to what I was saying about really throwing ourselves into the messy, into the unknown, and the unknown, I want to really break that down for a minute because like when I feel like we always label things as like, oh, that person, like, that's bad, or that's wrong, or like, I can't be angry because that's wrong, for example, or um, I can't do this, I can't do that, I can't be this, I can't be that, all because it's wrong or it's bad. I feel like when we do that, not only are we manifesting that we want to do it because we keep telling ourselves no, no, no. And as humans, when we hear the word no for whatever random reason, we cling on and latch on to doing all that we can to do it, the thing that was said that we can't do. But then also, if we were to take the example of like if we were to like I keep like, and this is what I'm saying is that like in trying to fix things and think about like how I'm wasting time and people aren't gonna want to listen to me because I'm taking too many breaks in between of talking, then it's like I then overthink it and then I'm causing more breaks and I'm manifesting thing that I don't want because I'm thinking so much about the thing that I don't want. And so, and like my camera's messy and now I'm trying to like hold it still, but like in overthinking it, I'm not holding it still. But anyways, I was more so saying with the unknown is that when we label all these things of like bad and wrong, and we tend to create so much distance between what is bad. Like we label these things as bad. Like I don't know what examples come to mind, but like we label all these things as bad and wrong, and we create so much distance from it to the point where we're labeling all these things as bad and wrong, but we don't really know what it truly is. Like I take, like for example, a lot of, like in Christianity, there's a lot of, like just a lot of resistance to the idea of like tarot and mysticism and witchcraft and all of that. And it's like in Christianity, it's like being told like, oh, this stuff is bad and it's wrong and it's not helpful. But then you create so much distance away from it of just labeling it as bad and wrong. But then you never really, when you tend to do things like that, excuse me, when you tend to do things like that, you tend not to really understand it and get to know it and understand what it actually is doing. So then you're labeling this thing as like bad and wrong, and you're actually in and of itself giving it more power over over you of like labeling it as like when you label things as bad and wrong, but then it's becomes the unknown because you gave it a label before you actually examined what it actually was. And I also take the example of like a lot of people seem to be racist based on the fact of they haven't really gotten to know people of color and all the intricacies and all the individualities of people of color. So then we're not just this like group of people with these like bad intentions, but then we become individuals with good and bad intentions, left and right thoughts, like politically, or we become like individuals rather than just a group of people with the and and leaving that like attachment from like a stereotype. We then get to know individuals, and this goes across all stereotypes of like we get to know individuals based on who they actually are, not what we've been told they are, or not what they have represented as, or not what um, the whatever they're stereotyped as is not only what they are. And yeah, by getting to know the unknown of what we have labeled as bad and wrong and or witchcraft and whatever, by getting to know it, we then have a better understanding of maybe it is bad, maybe it is wrong. But once we give it a chance, we have a better grasp around what it actually is, and better understanding and knowing for ourselves and our idea of what it actually represents, or what the people or the stereotypes or whatever, better understanding it, I think helps us to give more compassion and understanding, not compassion, but I mean not understanding, but because I already said that twice, sorry, but more compassion, more empathy, more sympathy to the things that we are labeling, because within the labeling we are stereotyping, and I think sometimes we stereotype in a sense of trying to protect ourselves, like, oh, somebody told me that this person is bad because they look a certain way or because they act a certain way, and then we stereotype all people that look or act in that way. But if we were to come from a place of, oh, I'm already safe, I'm already protected, I don't need to then discriminate against somebody else to make myself feel more protected, because I already know that I have to understand somebody I um before I make premature judgments against them. And I also like take this from a space of Kim Cran's archetypes deck. She talks about how archetypes are embracing the fullness of who a person is, and judging, and not judging them, but coming from a place of I see me and you and you and me, and I see how we relate, and I see some of our differences, but it's not coming from a place of judgment, but it's coming from a place of relation and relating, and and more of a compare and contrast rather than judgment. And I think in archetypes we learn of, like, oh, like all of these archetypes are all of us combined, and we all share some version of these archetypes within us, because sometimes we can't see it within ourselves, or sometimes we we don't always acknowledge it within ourselves, but ultimately they all are in us, and we are all in other people, and all of our archetypes are this shared encompassing um, part of shared encompassing just universe in general. And that's how we come together and create unity more so than discrimination and division. And so just getting back to more of a psychological place of, like, within internally of the bad and the unknown. Um, I was thinking that, like, sometimes we label certain parts of ourselves as bad, or things we do as wrong, like mistakes that we make. And if we were to come from a place of better understanding those things, those parts about us, then we can then give compassion to them and realize that none of anything is really bad or wrong or right or good. None of it is really any of that. It's all much more complex and much more nuanced than just good and bad, right and wrong. And I think when we come from a place of understanding and compassion within that, we see that there's more to us than the shadow, the light, the good, the bad, the right, the wrong. There's so much more nuance to any of it. And and I think that when we're allowing ourselves to give compassion and understanding, we really have an ease in our hearts and relief in our hearts where we can fully express ourselves to an immense degree, or we can not express ourselves if we feel we don't need to. And we can embrace other people, we can embrace ourselves, we can fully live in the authenticity that is us and embrace it within others as well. And so, that's really all I was really getting at, is that when we allow ourselves to intentionally be messy, intentionally dive into what we think are bad and wrong, when we intentionally do stuff like that, we can then see, like, oh, like, I'm learning more about this thing, and it's actually not as bad as I think it is. Or maybe it is as bad as I think it is, but at least I now understand it more and can have more compassion for it. And and I think compassion unlocks everything. Love unlocks everything. And when we are able to sit in that energy of love and compassion, we are then able to unlock a world, a universe of opportunity. And that's what I want for you. So I hope this was some, it was all over the place and not anywhere at any place, but everywhere at every place all at the same time. And so I know it was confusing, but I really hope in some way this helps, or I can hear some feedback on what everyone has to say about this. And I really hope that we can work together to build a more conscious society and understanding and awareness so that we can continue to unite and come together. So I hope you have a great day or night or evening or afternoon or whatever it is where you are right now. And I hope that if you can't have a great day or night, then I just hope that you sit with yourself and give yourself things that you need for today. That'll help you have a better day tomorrow or a better night tomorrow. Because you deserve that. You deserve the world. The world is your oyster. The world is literally given to you, so you deserve it all. So, yeah. Bye.